Ward, Executive Director here at Allerton House at Howard Park in Hingham. Thank you for coming today. This is one of our many lunch talks that we'll be putting on throughout the spring and summer, and it is my honor to introduce you guys to Alexis Levitt. Welcome, Alexis. She's going to be talking to you guys about Elder Law 101, protecting your assets.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I was about to say good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. So we are going to talk about all things elder law today. So I am an elder law attorney currently in Norwell. I've been doing this for 19 years. I did environmental before that, oceans and coasts, and then did a complete 180 to a totally different field. So here is what we are going to talk about today. Basic estate planning documents, paying for independent living, paying for assisted living, paying for nursing home without losing everything, and we are going to touch on special needs children as well. So let's get going. So talking about your basic estate planning documents. So how do you ensure that your wishes are carried out even if you develop dementia or become incapacitated? This is my number one topic for everybody. So my pop quiz question for all of you is, if you go see an estate planning attorney, what are the most important documents you can have? Healthcare proxy. A will. Power of attorney. Okay, healthcare proxy and power of attorney win the prize. They are the most important documents you can have. Everybody wants a will as well, but the most important thing you can do for yourself is the healthcare proxy and the power of attorney. So let's see why. Okay, so a healthcare proxy, what is it? A lot of you are familiar with this, so let me back up. As soon as we turn 18, nobody can legally speak for us anymore. A lot of people assume my spouse is legally my voice when I'm in a pinch. That is not true. Emergency staff may very well listen to your spouse, but legally, the only person who can make your decisions is someone that you have put in place in a signed document. So a healthcare proxy, that's the healthcare side. So if you are 18 and over, you need to sign a healthcare proxy and you name someone who can make healthcare decisions for you when you cannot make or communicate your own. So you sign a healthcare proxy now, and it just goes in a drawer. You're in charge of your own healthcare for as long as you're able to be. But if a day comes when you start to need help, you pull that healthcare proxy out of the drawer, and whoever you named starts acting as your voice. So the big question is, who do you name? A lot of people just say, I'm going to name my spouse, and then I'm going to name my oldest child. And so we always stop and say, are these the best people for the job? So when you are writing up your healthcare proxy, you really want to not do that automatic, my spouse, my oldest child. You want to stop and think about who in my tight universe, my family, my best friends, who is that person who's going to honor what I want, first of all, and not make the decisions they want? Who's got that personality that they go home and they start Googling all these medical terms that they heard all day? Who has that personality that's going to march down to the nurse's station and say, my mother needs X, Y, and Z? So that's what you want to think about when you're naming who your healthcare proxy is. I always point this out because some people are afraid. So you need to know that your agent's authority ends as soon as you can take over again. So let's say you hit a point where you're incapacitated for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks. After surgery, you're on all sorts of meds and they're completely playing with your mind. So for those 3 weeks, somebody else is making your decisions. As you start to come into yourself again, you take over your decision-making power again. So you should know that. Some people are just afraid, like, once it's gone, is it gone? No. So healthcare proxy, very low cost. There's a good one that all the hospitals hand you that's done by the Massachusetts Medical Society. So it's got their blessing. And then if you're going to see an attorney, we're going to give you one that's much more thorough. So the one that you can get from the hospital is very good. Ours is just ramped up and has a lot more in it. And it has to be done if you're going to go see an attorney to do a healthcare proxy. You want it to be done by an elder law attorney specifically, not by that nice boy who was my son's roommate in college, and now he's a lawyer and he does real estate. You don't want him doing your healthcare proxy. You want an elder law attorney doing your healthcare proxy. And I'm not going to go through all this, but you can just see from all the yeses and all the nos, these are all things that we put in ours, and someone who's not an elder law attorney is not going to put in theirs. You have all these slides, by the way. So when you're all done eating and your hands are free, you can start taking notes if you'd like. We have some medical people in the room who've probably watched this happen. When you don't have a healthcare proxy, it is awful. Well, I shouldn't say, you can go your whole life making your own decisions, and that's wonderful. If you're one of those people who reaches a point where you need someone to take over and you have not signed a healthcare proxy, we end up in guardianship land, which is a place where we really don't like to go. So your family or the nursing home attorney goes off to court and gets a judge to appoint somebody to now make your healthcare decisions. And in all likelihood, it's going to be that person that you would have written in a healthcare proxy had you done it. It's going to be someone 99 times out of 100. It's going to be somebody in your tight universe that the judge is going to name. But to get there costs a lot of money, your money, a lot of time, and a lot of heartache. I think it's a very emotionally wrenching process for the whole family to go through guardianship. So we don't want to go there. So what is the moral of the story? You are all going to sign a healthcare proxy. Excellent. Excellent. You all passed. All right. So my other favorite estate planning document is the power of attorney. It's a very similar idea to the healthcare proxy. It's who can manage my finances when I need them to. Healthcare proxy, who can manage my healthcare. Power of attorney, who can help me with my finances. So when you name a power of attorney, again, your spouse is not automatically your legal voice when it comes to your banking, etc. Not at all. If you need somebody to become your voice on the finance side, it is only that person that you have named in a power of attorney. Written their name, signed the bottom line. So that could be anything like selling your house for you, signing a lease here, taking out a mortgage for you, buying a car, selling a car, calling up your IRA to change your monthly distribution. Like really any of those financial things that you do, a power of attorney can do for you. So you want to name somebody who you really, really, really trust. It might be your spouse, might be your oldest child, might be someone else. So you want to think about that. Who do I really trust with my money, A? And B, who's just good at this stuff? Who pays their bills on time, dots their I's, crosses their T's, who will, do the job well. So you want to really think about who that person's going to be. Something to keep in mind is that the agent has power immediately. So remember on the healthcare side, you're in charge of your healthcare by law, as long as you're able to. If you reach a point where you need help, the healthcare proxy springs to life. On the power of attorney side, technically, a power of attorney springs to life the second you sign it. Yes. Yes. Which brings us back to the idea that you name somebody who you really, really, really trust to not use that POA until the day comes when you need them to. So just keep that in mind. You want to sign the power of attorney, but you want to make sure you trust that that person won't use it until you need them to. All right. And then same as before, you really want a power, there is no publicly available power of attorney in Massachusetts. The way we have the healthcare proxy that you can get from the Mass Medical Society and the hospital, we don't have that on the power of attorney side, which I personally find very embarrassing. Some other states do have like an official one that you can download. We do not yet. So in the meantime, you have to come see a lawyer to write one up, and you want it done by an elder law attorney, not by the attorney who helped you buy your house. They're very good at what they do. We are very good at what we do. So, and I'm not going to go through the whole list, but you can just tell visually that we include a lot of things in power of attorneys that non-elder law attorneys don't. So, and you have the slides if you would like to go into the weeds. All right, so if you don't sign a power of attorney and you reach a point where you need somebody to take over your finances, you go to conservatorship land. Just like guardianship land, we do not like going to conservatorship land. You don't want to go there. Just like on the health side, it was the same thing I said over there. There is a lawyer who is going to spend a lot of time doing a lot of work to go in front of a judge to have the judge appoint somebody as a conservator to manage your money with the power to sell your house, sign a lease here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But to get, and it's probably going to be the same person that you would have written yourself if you had signed a power of attorney. And it costs a lot of money, a lot of time, emotionally wrenching, a very unpleasant experience. So you don't want to go there. So again, you're all going to go see a lawyer and do what? Power of attorney. Excellent. You've passed test number 2. All right. Any questions on healthcare proxies and power of attorneys? Nothing? You're good?
What if somebody already signed a power of attorney, and then they didn't really need it anymore? What happens? They still have power to do it? How can you get rid of that?
Well, you have 2 choices. So are you saying that I have a power of attorney, but I'm doing fine, I don't need anybody to help me? So just leave it in the drawer, because what happens if someday you do need that person to help you? You want that power of attorney sitting in the drawer, ready to go. I know I said there's 2 answers, but that's my only answer. Yes?
You can change the person's name if you decide to.
Oh yeah, nothing is set in stone. As long as you have capacity, as long as you still have your wits about you, you can absolutely go into the attorney's office and ask to do a new one. A power of attorney, yes, because there's no state one, not yet. Yes.
Same with healthcare proxy?
And the healthcare proxy, if you're coming into my office, like, I'm going to give you a healthcare proxy. But if you're not going to see an attorney, you just get the healthcare proxy from the hospital or the Mass Medical Society. Yeah. As long as you've got capacity, you can change it every day. I wouldn't recommend changing it every day, but you can. You can.
On the mass form, the healthcare proxy space direction.
Yes.
So you need to go to a lawyer to put a third.
I don't know. So she's asking about alternates. So I will say we always put alternates, or we always ask people for alternates. Yeah. So we always have like a number 1 healthcare proxy. If she's not available, I want this person. If he's not available, I want this person. And we'll put as many people as you want. On the Mass Medical Society form, you're right, there's only 2 spots. I don't know, you could just write it in.
That's what I was thinking. I just have somebody that wants to do it.
Yeah, just write in a third, and I would. Yes. Anything else on healthcare proxy and POAs? All right, so we're still talking about estate planning documents. I am just going to warn everybody against putting your child on your bank account as a joint owner. I'm going to tell you, you didn't do anything crazy if you did this. Everybody does it. I don't like it. So people will quite often put their child on the bank account for good reason. Number 1, I want her to be able to help me pay my bills. And number 2, when I die, that account very easily at the stroke of midnight goes to her. So that's why people do that. So we like those 2 goals. We don't like the way you got there. Because my problem with having a child as a joint owner is she is now a joint owner. That is her money, 100%. If she wants to go into the bank, take it all, and go to Aruba, she can. She totally can. What's that?
And they do.
And they do. And the other thing is, if she has creditors, anybody is suing her, That's her bank account. That's her bank account. So what we do instead is I always like to put children on bank accounts as power of attorneys. So you just go into the bank and you say, take her off as joint, put her back on as a power of attorney. And then you also say, and put her on as a beneficiary. So the POA, so she can help you during life, and the beneficiary, so she gets the account when you die. So the same goal, we're just doing it in a different way. All right, that's what I have to say about joint accounts. Okay, so everybody likes to talk about wills and trusts. We'll talk about wills and trusts and beneficiaries for a minute. So just to be clear, a lot of people come into my office and they say, I don't want to go through probate. So probate is the probate court. And after you die, your assets end up going through the probate court only if those assets were in your name, no one else's name, period, end of story. So if let's say you own a house jointly with your spouse dies, now you own the house, period, because you were joint owners, okay? Easy peasy. Now you are the only person owning that house. When you die, that house is going through probate, through the whole probate court shenanigans, because you were the only name on that asset. So probate is not the end of the world, but we like to avoid it if we can. So, but it's really not horrible. I mean, people tell you horrible stories. Well, it can be horrible. Never mind. It's usually not the end of the world, but we do like to avoid it if we can. So how do you avoid it? You make sure your assets are not in only your name. So how do we do that? You can do joint ownership, you can do trusts, you can do beneficiaries. Like if you have an IRA, you've got a beneficiary, for example. Sometimes, or quite frequently, we put assets into trust. Your house might go into a trust, your money might go into a trust, and that way when you die, it's not in just your name, it's in the trust. Therefore, it's not going through probate. So if you come see an attorney, what we do is we look at your situation. We say, okay, you have whatever assets you have as opposed to the next person. And we say, okay, well, this kind of a trust is perfect for you. Or sometimes we say, you shouldn't have a trust. We're going to do beneficiaries. So it all depends. So these are different solutions. I guess my point is don't run out and just do these things. You want to talk to an attorney who's going to say, for you, this is the right set of solutions to avoid probate. Any quick, basic questions on wills and trusts? I'm not going to go into the weeds because we could do a whole semester-long class on wills and trusts. Yes.
About how much does it cost, just a ballpark, to go through probate?
To go through probate, how much does it cost? So, okay, ballpark is really hard. If your assets are easy peasy and there's nothing, no drama, it could be $5,000 maybe. If there's a lot of complicated assets, a lot of difficult family members, it could be $9,000 or $10,000. One thing I will say, internet forms make things worse. You have my full blessing to go get a healthcare proxy online. Like I said, in Massachusetts, we have one. Everything else, do not get online. Don't try to do your own will. Don't try to do your own trust. You talk to any estate planning attorney. We have all fixed some royal messes, and the family ends up paying us more to fix the mess than what they would have paid just to do it right from the beginning. So beware the internet. Oh, so you have to do estate planning with an attorney if you have a special needs child, with an elder law attorney, I should have said, with a special needs child, if you have a blended family, if you have uneven distributions, if you're disinheriting anybody, and if you are trying to plan for long-term care. You absolutely have to see an elder law attorney if you've got any of these things going on. Oh, okay, this is my last thing and then we'll move on. Do not put your child's name on your house. A lot of people just decide to do this and they go to the registry and they do it by themselves. Don't do it. People do it because, I want to make sure my kid inherits this house. Okay, so I like the mission, just not the way it's been carried out. So don't put your child's name on your house because now they're a joint owner. That kid gets divorced, that kid has creditors, that kid decides to, sell and take all the money and move. They can. They totally can. After you die, that child is going to take the whole house and your other kids are out. Is that what you wanted? There's a big fat asterisk here. Every now and then, an attorney actually does say, put your child's name on the house. So if we tell you that, you can do it. But other than that, do not put your child's name on the house. All right.
What about a trust?
That's different. You can put it in a trust, your house in a trust, and your kids can be in that trust. But some people will just go to the registry of deeds and say, I'm giving my house to me and my child, and write a deed and put that on record. And 99 times out of 100, that's a bad idea.
Why would that be different than a trust?
Because in a trust, I'm not making your child the owner. You're still the owner. Well, it depends on what kind of trust, but usually I'm leaving you as the primary person in this trust, and your kids just inherit it later. Versus when people go to the registry and throw their kid on their deed, that kid owns the house now, and we don't like that.
So question would be capital gains if the child, if they inherit it, would they take that capital gain?
No, so if you own a house, so the question's about capital gains when you inherit. So, okay, let's make a really dramatic example. So your grandparents bought a house once upon a time for $20,000, right? And then 50 years later, they sold it for how about $720,000? Because prices are so insane right now. Okay, they bought it for $20,000. They sold it, they died, and the family sold it for $720,000. So that $700 is a gain. And so what she's asking about is in the U.S. we pay capital gains taxes. There's federal and there's Massachusetts, and so there's a tax that's owed on the $700, but not when you inherit. When you inherit, if they had sold that house while they were living for $720, there would be tax due on the $700. When you're the family inheriting the house, you get to start over at zero. You get to start over. So now you inherited at $720. You get to just completely ignore that $700 growth over all those decades. Just ignore it. So now you, the family, have inherited the house for $720. Let's say you sell it in a couple months for $750. There's only a $30,000 gain, capital gain, that the family has to deal with. Yes. So it actually sometimes makes sense to hold on to a house and not sell it and let your family inherit it, and then, yeah. But there's all these calculations we run, so.
What about this 5-year thing?
We're gonna get to that, hold that thought. Thank you, the 5-year thought, 5-year look back, we're gonna come back to. Something else on houses and trusts and wills, anything? Okay, now we can talk about paying for independent living. I will tell you, as an elder law attorney, this is the way I describe what I do. I do the estate planning, everything we just talked about. And then I do the care planning. And what I mean by that is you have your pot of gold, whatever it is, right? Every family has a different size pot. And my job is to stretch it out and make that pot take care of you for as long as possible in whatever place you want to be living. That's the goal of an elder law attorney. So let's talk about if you're going to move to independent living, a place like this. And then we'll talk about assisted living, which Allerton also has. Then we'll talk about nursing home and special needs children.
Excuse me, I thought this was just assisted living.
Where's Chris?
So we are primarily in assisted living, but we do accept independent living as well without care. So we have residents that transition here to the community independently, and then kind of planning for their future and possibly needing assisted living or assisted memory care as well.
Yeah, but the cost of, if you're independent living here,
is less.
It's less money than assisted living, and you blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Kept going, okay.
Yeah, so assisted living is just the same, apartment style living as independent with some added care benefits and, 24-hour access to CNA staff. Good question.
All right, so if you want to move, let's talk about that. Generally speaking, okay, this does, like all generalizations, this does not apply to everybody, but generally speaking, as we age, the continuum is we're at home with some help, and then when that gets to be untenable for a whole variety of reasons, there's assisted living. And when that becomes untenable for a whole variety of reasons, nursing home. So that's like the general, not for everybody, but generally speaking, the arc. So when I say at home with help, my big question is, where is home? Where's home? It could be the house that you've always been in. And I always ask everybody, like, do you have one floor living? Could it be one floor living, et cetera, et cetera. People talk, a lot of people like to downsize. Some people will do an in-law apartment at your child's house, and a lot of people will choose to come to a place like this where pretty much everything is taken care of for you. So that's, when I say care at home, I'm thinking about all of these types of places. So if you're talking about staying at home with help, wherever home might be, what does that mean? When I say you might reach a point where you need some help, what does that mean? So we have home health aides, we have visiting nurses, home modifications, like changing the bathroom and the shower, etc. The lifeline for if you've fallen. Driving, which is a major problem on the South Shore. If you are living at home in your own house, we have some transportation on the South Shore, but not enough. Some people will go to a day program, partly to have something to do during the day and partly to give their caregiver a break. Some people need medication reminders. So when I say living at home with help, these are the kinds of things I'm talking about. And a place like this has a lot of these things built in. Who can help you manage? Because as you saw on the last slide, if you're going to start to bring help in, there's a lot of moving parts. So just some things to keep in mind. If you're moving to a place like Allerton House, their staff is your first line of defense. I feel like I need a X. I feel like I need a Y. You go to their staff. Another fabulous person to know about, and this is really just a point of information because not a lot of people know this exists, is a geriatric care manager. They call themselves, I think, aging life care managers now, but anyway, I still call them geriatric care managers. So these, nobody knows they exist. These are mostly women. They are mostly independent. They were, social workers or nurses in their past lives. And now most of them just work for themselves. And you hire them. I describe them as the perfect oldest daughter. They will come in and do anything and everything you need. So, and as little or as much as you want. So they might come in and say, you really need a couple hours of home health aides. Like in my professional assessment, I think you need a couple of hours of home health aides, and I'm gonna go find those home health aides for you, for example. Or I think you need help paying your bills, I'm gonna connect you with someone who can help you pay your bills. Or you might want somebody to come to all your doctor's appointments with you who speaks the same language, right? So you bring a nurse care manager with you, and she knows what the doctor's saying, and she knows how to advocate and ask all the right questions. So I love these women. And anyway, I just wanted to introduce that idea because nobody knows that they exist, and we have some fabulous ones on the South Shore. Another thing we have is an Alzheimer's coach.
Are you speaking of a private duty nursing?
Not nursing. She's more, like I said, like a daughter. She comes in and she just runs the show. She has these ideas, she implements, she makes phone calls, she makes things happen. She's not a nurse that takes care of your wounds or something like that. But she would find those people for you. Okay, Alzheimer's coach. This is another thing that all of us could use and we don't know exists. Funding, I believe, comes through South Shore Elder Services and Old Colony, so you can usually get the service for free. So if you have lived with someone with dementia, you know it can be very frustrating to try to have conversation, because we, since we learned how to talk when we were 1 year old, have learned that there's a certain pattern to conversation. And that is not so, that those rules change with someone with dementia. So an Alzheimer's coach can teach you how to kind of rewire yourself to have really positive experiences with this person. So, and like I said, you can get that service for free through Elder Services. Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, they like save families. They really do. They're wonderful. So, okay, mediator, this is another thing to keep in mind. If you are in a family where everybody is in disagreement about what mom should do next, you can bring in a mediator who, these people are really incredibly skilled at guiding conversations and getting everybody over the course of several hours onto the same page. And again, these people keep families together. Instead of everybody hating each other, they help keep the family intact and move forward. So these are wonderful people. Another thing to keep in mind if you start to need help is call on your kids. Call on your kids. Have them help you. I know they're busy and they have children, but you know, they can pay bills in their pajamas on their computer for you at midnight. They can do this. So call on your kids. If you need help bill paying, actually South Shore Elder Services has volunteers. Our job as elder law attorneys, when you're in my office, I'm asking you a million questions, and I'm having all these kind of bells go off in my head. Okay, she needs this, she needs this, she needs this, she needs this. So we identify what you need, and then we get those people in play for you. That's part of our job. So, all these people that you're gonna hire, how do you pay for them? That's the big question. That is the big question. So if you are, sorry, again, this is really how I envision my job. You have a pot of gold. Everybody's pot of gold is different. We're gonna add people, family, friends, professionals, government sources of money. We're gonna stretch out your pot of gold, stretch it out, and keep you living in a place where you want to be living, at home, here, etc., for as long as possible. Okay, so if you're moving to a place like Allerton on the independent side, it is mostly private pay. Long-term care insurance doesn't help with the independent, but if you start to need home health aides, etc., and if you have long-term care insurance, that will help pay. If you need, I guess what I'm thinking of is there's your monthly lease that you pay here, but if you start to need help, you need to bring some people in to help you. That's your long-term care insurance. Your Medicare and your MedX will do a little bit for you. Hospice, that's a fabulous resource to keep in mind. Hospice is essentially free. You have already paid for it. It is part of your Medicare. You get little co-pays here and there, but that's it. And they bring such resources. So people sort of still think that hospice is what it was, which is, the last 2 weeks, call hospice, grandma's dying. And they do a wonderful job of that still. They do. But what they do now that a lot of people don't know, they come in for months and months and months and months and months and months and months. There are people on hospice, you would have no idea they're on hospice. And their mission in life, what makes their heart sing, is figuring out what makes a good day for you and making that happen. Do you like going to the Red Sox? Do you like going to the movies with your girlfriends every Tuesday? Like, what is it that you love to do? And they make it happen. They're amazing. And they bring the nurses and the social workers and some volunteers, and they're amazing. So anyway, keep that in mind as another source of care, and basically free, that most people don't think about. Veterans benefits. We are going to talk about veterans benefits further down, but put a little asterisk there. If you need to pay to bring care in, you can use veterans benefits. We'll explain that in a minute. Okay. Anything else? Do you have any questions before we move on moving to like an independent living, and what if I need to start bringing in a little help? Any questions on that? Yes.
I'm a veteran, but I don't get veterans benefits.
Okay, hold that thought. We're getting there. We're getting there. All right, we're gonna talk about assisted living. So Allerton, like Chris said, there's the independent, but also if you need assisted living, if you start to need help during the day, and you might pay for a little bit of your own people, but then you get to a point where you're like, Chris, I want to use your people. Then she starts calling you that your lease is on the assisted living. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
I wouldn't want to be in estate planning. What about a life estate
Oh.
when you become incapacitated?
That falls under our nursing home discussion, so we'll come back to that. Life estates usually fall under the nursing home discussion. Okay. All right, assisted living. Does everybody understand what assisted living is, or should Chris explain that for a second? You should explain it for a second.
Right. Put me on the spot here.
Sorry. Sorry.
So assisted living is essentially, there's assistance available. We have staff, and this is general information for all assisted livings, but particularly here at Allerton House. With our model here in this community, an hour of care is included. So basic ADL care. Does anyone know what ADL stands for? It's your activities of daily living. So when people start to struggle with those, easy tasks at home like food shopping, cooking meals, remembering to take their medications. So those are little barriers to keeping people home safe. So really, I associate assisted living, it's kind of like living in a hotel with a built-in CNA. You have all of these amenities, there's so many pros to having people around all the time instead of being isolated in your home. And working in assisted living for going on 18 years, what I've seen is after the pandemic, we got very, very busy in assisted living because everyone was super isolated during the pandemic. So there's really to differentiate between independent living, assisted living, and skilled care. Skilled care is hands-on nursing. You have a wound or a very delicate or an acute medical condition, where assisted living, there's nursing oversight. So every now and again, those acute flare-ups may happen, but it's not something that requires 24-hour nursing, to be monitored. So assisted living is just, getting all of your meals cooked for you, restaurant style, knowing that, when you're home and you have, say, a life alert, you push that, it goes to the fire department. And you're waiting for the fire truck to show up. Here, it goes right, in most assisted livings, that you push that button, it goes right to the staff, the care staff. They have walkies on them at all times, and they're able to respond quickly. Should you have a slip or fall in the middle of the night, should you need some assistance getting up to go to the bathroom. So it's just how assisted living is how can we really focus on what you can still do for yourself, not what you can't do.
Do they make your bed in the morning and?
Oh yeah, not to info dump, but housekeeping, laundry,
Okay.
all of those things, and that can be as little or as much as you'd like.
I see.
We have residents that love to do their own laundry because I know I don't fold
I
the
can
towels
see
the same
that.
way
Yeah,
as my
yeah,
husband, and that's always an argument.
I'm allergic to laundry.
So it's as little or as much as you'd like. I think that the main goal of assisted living and kind of where we've sprung up from is keeping people safe, keeping people active. I hope that answers your question.
No, you did.
Great.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so if you're going to move into assisted living, it's obviously going to cost you something. So let's figure out how we do that. Oh, so sorry, this was actually, let's back up a second. How do you find the right assisted living? I always say they're like picking a college, and you really have to figure out which one feels right for you. And my big test, any building I go into, is does the staff look happy? Are they friends with each other? Are they enjoying their day? If they are having a good time, if they like their job, that is going to absolutely rub off and trickle down into the care that all the residents are receiving from them. That's what I always look for when I go into an assisted living, a nursing home, anywhere. And I will say that the Allerton House, I'm not just saying this because I'm here, like I have observed over the years that that is a true statement for the Welch buildings in particular. People stay for like 20 years. People love working here. So, and that absolutely rubs off on the vibe and the atmosphere and the care that everyone receives. Some places are better with dementia than others, so if you see dementia on the horizon, that's part of your shopping list when you're out there looking, because you don't want to move and move again. You want to just find a place and stay. Like I said, we're going to figure out where the money comes from. It's private pay, veterans funding, and long-term care insurance if you have it. Not a lot of people do, but if you do have it, read that policy. A lot of them do pay something towards your monthly assisted living. So let's talk about veterans benefits. So there is a program called Aid and Attendance. You don't have to be currently getting anything from the VA. This is a program that you apply for at the time that you want it. So Aid and Attendance, everyone just calls it A&A, and this is good. So most veterans programs are only for the vet. This is one of the rare programs that is also for the spouse or widow. Also dependent children, like an adult disabled child, for example. But if you are a single vet, so these are the new numbers for 2023, you can get from the VA through Aid and Attendance $2,229 a month. You put that together with your own savings, and now you've just increased the amount of time that you can afford to be in a place like this. It doesn't pay the entire monthly bill, obviously, but if you can chip out $2,000 from the VA that you now don't have to take out of your own savings just got stretched. So that's the veteran. If you're a spouse, it's $1,750. If you're a widow of the veteran, $1,432. If you're both veterans and you're both looking for help, $3,536. I have yet to meet this couple, but I will. How do you get Aid and Attendance? So the veteran, even if you're the widow, the veteran had to have 90 days of active duty, 1 day during wartime, and a not dishonorable discharge. And some people who are in the reserves, they did get activated. So you want to read your DD-214, your discharge paper. Medical need, you have to need help with at least 2 activities of daily living. That's the showering, the dressing, the cooking, etc. Or not, well, the feeding. Financial, your net worth, okay, put that in quotes, your net worth cannot exceed $150,000. Net worth is your assets plus your annual income minus your unreimbursed medical expenses. So if you are living in assisted living, 9.5 times out of 10, we can wipe out your annual income with what you're paying here. And then all we look at is this part of the equation is what are your assets, really. And if they're $150,000 or less, plus you need some help, plus you've got the right veterans history, you're in. There is a 3-year look back. Because quite honestly, if you wait to apply until you have only $150,000 to your name, and then you start getting $2,000 a month, that honestly doesn't buy you that much time in a place like Allerton. So what we do is when I have the chance, what I do is I do a whole bunch of math. If you come to me several years ahead of time, I do a whole bunch of calculations and I figure out, all right, I'm gonna take this much money, park it over here in a trust. I'm gonna leave you with 3 years worth of money so that at the end of 3 years, you're down to $150 in your own bank account, and we apply for Aid and Attendance. But you can't live on just $150,000 plus aid and attendance. So guess what? That other money that we parked in the trust 3 years ago, you can dip into when you need it. So that's what we do when we have the chance ahead of time to plan for aid and attendance. Yes?
1 day wartime.
One day, yes, one day during wartime.
What's wartime?
So you might remember from high school history that Congress declares periods of war. Sometimes we are under executive order, we're in skirmishes or whatever they call it, I don't remember. Other times we're in congressionally declared periods of war. So you can just look this up online. It's
site has declared conflicts, so you can get the
oh, yes.
look up the MassGov site.
Yes. So there's like official congressionally declared periods of war, but we're actually still in the Gulf War, which is absolutely horrible to think about. Okay, so that's what that means. Any other questions on aid and attendance? Okay. Oh, service-connected compensation. You'll know if you have this. You either have it or you don't have it. So if you have any kind of a disability, you've gone to that is related to your time in service. You've gone to the VA. You've gone to the medical center. You've done their whole jump through all their hoops, and you have a rating. It might be 10%, 30%, et cetera, et cetera. That rating equals money. And so what I always ask people is, when's the last time you got your rating looked at? And if it was ages ago, why not go back and see if your rating can get bumped up? Higher rating equals more money. Something to keep in mind, if you have a 70% rating or higher, you get free nursing home care. Free. No 5-year look back, no nothing, no nothing, no nothing. Free nursing home care. Not the spouse, not the widow, the veteran. If you have a 70% or more service-connected disability rating.
Isn't that just for VA-approved place though?
Yes. Yes, it's for VA-approved places. So the VA nursing homes. And then we have nursing homes around the South Shore that have VA contracts. Yeah, so it's not every nursing home. That is true. That is true.
Contracted places on the kids.
I don't know. I have one family that sent 2 different parents to one place around here and couldn't say enough about it. So, okay. Okay. So do your own smell test when you go into the place and so make your own decision. All right, but good thing to keep in mind in any event. Anything else you want to talk about with veterans money, assisted living? We're good? Okay. Now we're going to talk about, people usually get very excited when we start talking about nursing home and protecting assets. Quite honestly, I don't want anyone to go to a nursing home. I want you to stay here. I want you, if at home with help or an independent with help or assisted living. So we will talk about nursing home, but I would love for you instead to figure out how to use your money to stay out of a nursing home. That's my personal bias right there. All right, so if you need to move to, remember before I said staying at home or an independent living with some help, and then usually the next stop on the train is assisted living because there's a little more help built in. And then the next stop for a lot of people is nursing home. And that's for 2 reasons. Either the assisted living, you kind of maxed out, they just can't give you as much as you need, or you can't afford assisted living. The government is very happy to pay for nursing home. This is one of the things that the advocates get very angry about. The government will very happily pay for nursing home. We've been fighting and fighting and fighting to change the rules so the government will be more generous with home care and assisted living. That battle is still going on. So for now, if you don't have money, it's off to nursing home you go. So if you need a nursing home, whether it's for medical or financial reasons, these are the things you want to think about. Some of them have dementia units or staff that, if they don't have a dedicated unit, staff that's really good with dementia patients. So if you see dementia on the horizon for yourself or the person that you're looking for a place for, again, you don't want to move a person and then move them again. You want to find that place that has what they need right now and also has good dementia care for when they start to need that. So keep that in mind. Family needs to visit around and pick the one that feels right. We have a lot of nursing homes on the South Shore. Go around, find the one that just feels like the right place for you. And again, this is my biggest test. Do the staff look happy? Do they like being here? Are they friends with each other? That's what's going to give your person good care, that vibe, that atmosphere. It's a lot of money. There's no way around it. We're going to talk about government help in a minute, but there's some Medicare and MedX help, people private pay, long-term care insurance. Again, if you have it, that's wonderful. And then Mass Health is what we'll talk about in a minute. Hospice, you can bring hospice into nursing home. So just keep that in mind. If you have someone in a nursing home and you feel like they're just not getting enough care, you can bring in hospice and now you've got more bodies in the room. So that's something to think about. Okay, do not sign an arbitration agreement. All the elder law attorneys like to get this message out. In the US, we have a jury trial system, a jury of our peers, correct? A lot of companies like to not let things go to a trial by jury. They instead want you to go to an arbitrator, which is one person in a room making a decision for you. So we always tell people, don't sign the arbitration agreement. Find that paragraph and cross it out when you're moving into a nursing home. Don't tell any of the Welch people I just said that. So
We're just assisted living. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. The nursing homes have gone off to someone else. Okay. The other thing is if you are signing someone else into a nursing home, you are no longer yourself. You are now that person's secretary, okay? You are their administrative assistant. You are not yourself. So you're their power of attorney, correct? Because everyone here has gone out and signed a power of attorney. So let's say my brother is helping to sign my mother into a nursing home. He's no longer David. That is not his name anymore. His name is David, power of attorney. Anything he signs regarding getting her into a nursing home. The same thing applies here. If you're signing for somebody else, you're no longer yourself. You are now David, power of attorney. You don't want any creditor to be coming after you saying you signed those documents. You didn't sign the documents. It was you, power of attorney. So it's very clear it's not you, it's you serving in the role for this other person. Any questions on that? Because that's a really important point.
Another safeguard to that is when that favorite child is signing the documents. They, if like a healthcare proxy is not activated, but you want your son or daughter to sign your paperwork, they can also write a letter saying that they give them the authority.
Oh, okay.
So that, and that's why, as far as the guarantor, most contracts have a guarantor section.
Yeah, we don't like, yeah.
That's
The parent is the guarantor.
That's where you want to make sure you don't implicate yourself as the adult
Right.
child. You want to make sure that it's mom or dad's signing.
Correct. Correct. All right, so how does nursing home get paid for? If you have to go to a nursing home, Medicare and your supplement will pay up to 100 days. I'll tell you, no one actually gets the full 100 days, but under the law, you get up to 100 days. So that's your Medicare and like your Blue Cross, your Tufts, whatever it is. If your case management team comes in and says, usually what happens is somebody falls, they go to the hospital, and then they go to rehab, right? It's that rehab period where Medicare and your MedX pay. A lot of people, the case manager, the social worker, the care team comes in and says, you're no longer improving, you're doing your physical therapy, but you're no longer getting better, you're just kind of here, so we're gonna stop the Medicare payments. That is illegal. The message, it's not the case manager's fault. Like that message has not been broadcast well enough to each of the rehabs, but there is a United States district court case that made it very clear that that is not what the law says. The law says if taking you off of PT, OT, et cetera, is gonna make you go down, then Medicare has to keep paying. Again, only to the 100 days. So I just point this out. If you're in a meeting with someone and the care team says, they're not really getting any better, we need to stop Medicare, just stop and educate them on, it's called JIMO, because that was the name of the case. So I just point that out. Okay, so once your Medicare time is up, that's when the billing office says, welcome, we love having you as a new resident of our home that will cost you $15,000 a month. So people get really worried about that $15,000 a month, especially if there's a spouse still at home or if they have a disabled child. So if you are worried about that $15,000 a month, some people are, some people aren't. Mass Health, remember before I said the government will happily pay for nursing home? So the government, what I mean by that is Mass Health. So Medicare is what we all get when we turn 65. Medicaid has absolutely nothing to do with Medicare. Medicaid is what pays for nursing home. Okay, so Medicaid, Mass Health pays for nursing home. Medicare does not. So if you want to qualify for Mass Health to pay for nursing home, the person in the nursing home, if you're a married couple, we'll do the single rules in a minute. If you're a married couple, person in the nursing home can only have $2,000 to his name, period. That's it. The spouse that, that's 148 now. That 137 is now 148. So the spouse at home can have $148,000 plus the house. The nursing home spouse's income goes to the nursing home. So if the husband is in the nursing home, the spouse at home, you need to be aware that you are now running a household on less money because his income is going with him. Sometimes the numbers work that we can argue to keep some of his money, his income for you, but not very often. Oh, somebody said 5-year look back before. This is where the 5-year look back business comes in. If you are asking Mass Health to pay your nursing home bill, you cannot have given anything significant away in the last 5 years. The caseworkers will ask us about anything over $1,000. So the days when you could give your house to your kid and turn around and ask Mass Health to pay your nursing home bill, those days are gone. Gone. No gifts within the last 5 years. Anything over $1,000, we get questions on.
So if there's anything under $1,000, $950, they don't ask.
They don't ask about checks written for $950. However, if every single month
you would pay $950 something.
Yes. Yes.
Just asking because I've had that question before.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yes. Yes.
Would that be a problem?
Big problem. You get a big fat X. You get a big fat X through your application.
Oh.
Yes. So.
Well, if you back it up with receipts and caregiving,
yes.
I think that's where you're going to watch the paper trail. So if you're paying for your loved one's private care, groceries, and then they say, "Oh, I owe you $600, I owe you $900," you can back that up with receipts. So I always say, on to everything.
Correct. Correct. We get in trouble. We have big mountains to climb if, like, your kid was going through a divorce and you gave them $50,000, because who wouldn't, okay? But now it's less than 5 years later and you need Mass Health. Mass Health caseworker is going to say to me, "Where's the $50,000? Go get it back." And then it's a whole production.
Just a period of disqualification.
Period of disqualification, or I can go through a bunch of hoops and make it clear that I'm never getting this money out of this child. It's gone. I can do that too. But anyway, it's painful. So, okay, so I guess what you're hearing is, like, in general, the rule is a 5-year look back, but with a lot of precision and good records, sometimes we can get through little oopses. That might be the best way to describe it. Yes?
What's your minimum to get on Mass Health?
What do you mean, what's your minimum to get on?
Well, how much money can you have and still get it?
So your maximum, if you're a married couple, the person in the nursing home can only have $2,000. The person at home can have a house plus $148,000.
All right, so I'm the person in the nursing home. I can only have $2,000.
Correct.
And then Mass Health will take care of me.
Are you a single person?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about you in a minute. Okay. All right. So this is what the ground rules for married people. Okay, sorry. So these are the ground rules, okay? we know all the ifs, ands, or buts, okay? And the Mass Health regulations have a lot of asterisks and exceptions, and we know those. So if you come to us, that's part of what we bring to the table. But these are the ground rules that everyone needs to understand. Okay, for a single person, if you're a single person, assets under $2,000, your income goes with you to the nursing home, no gifts within the last 5 years, and you can't keep your house, right? Because obviously, if you look at it from Mass Health perspective, you've got $500,000 sitting here. Sell your house, turn it into money, and pay for your own care. That's their perspective.
5 years ahead of time.
No, I'm just saying these are the ground rules. If you showed up at a nursing home then these are the basic rules you have to comply with. And we know the asterisks and the exceptions and how to get you there. Goodbye. Good, thank you. But these are the basic rules that you need to understand.
You have to have gotten rid of your house.
If you want to get rid of your house, it had to be 5 years ahead of time. But do you really want to get rid of your house? That's another question. Okay, so this is your question. What if I don't like those ground rules? What if I want to preserve my assets, okay? First and foremost, if your health and your finances allow it, go get long-term care insurance. Get long-term care insurance because Mass Health, if you have long-term care insurance, will let you move into a nursing home and will not make you sell your house. They will let you keep your house and your children can inherit it, okay? But even more important to me, if you've got long-term care insurance, well, now you can afford home care and assisted living, and you're not going to a nursing home. So, yes.
Long-term health care, at a certain age, you can't buy it.
Not that at a certain age, it's not that you can't buy it. Long-term care insurance at a certain age is that it's going to cost such an insane amount that you wouldn't want to buy it. Just to be very specific. But no, that's why I said if your health and your finances allow it, definitely look into long-term care insurance. Sometimes if you have a child who, I don't see this very often, but sometimes we do, who moved in and took care of you, like, 24/7 for at least 2 years, Mass Health lets us, within those 5 years, give her the house. It's a way of them encouraging, families taking care of family members. If you have a disabled child, we can move money over to a trust for that disabled child and for no 5-year look back. Because again, Mass Health knows, well, if the family is not using a trust to pay for a special needs child, we are. So they want to encourage you to put money aside for your special needs child. Sometimes we do a life estate. Somebody asked about a life estate. That is a very particular way of putting your child's name on a house, and we do it in certain circumstances. But again, that's definitely 5 years ahead of time. Sometimes we do an irrevocable trust. It's a very particular type of trust that locks your money away from nursing home costs. There's some real downsides to those trusts as well, and you have to do them 5 years in advance. Usually what we do is somebody just shows up and says, my husband's in a nursing home right now, what do I do today? We give the wife all the money, and then we write a will for her that if she dies first, he doesn't inherit everything and get knocked off of Mass Health. You need to know that if you are going to see an attorney to shelter assets from nursing home, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. If you are going to shelter assets from nursing home, you are going to give up some control. You're going to add a child's name on a life estate deed. You're going to put things in an irrevocable trust that you're no longer in charge of, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people come into my office like, I want an irrevocable trust. And then I tell them all the scary parts, and they're like, oh, never mind. I'm like, good, I agree.
What's the scary parts? What's the scary?
So people will come to me and say, I don't want the nursing home to get my money. This is when you've got a 5-year lead time, right? They're just planning ahead. I don't want the nursing home to get my money. I want to put my house in an irrevocable trust. I say, that's lovely. It will work to make sure your house isn't used to pay for nursing home, and your children will inherit that house. So that's the plus. The downside is starting right now, today, your children are now in charge of that house. You have the right to live there. I write a document that makes it very clear no one can kick you out. But if you want to do a reverse mortgage, if you want to sell it, if your kids don't agree, there's nothing I can do about it. If they do agree, you're good. Yes, you're fine if they agree. But if they don't, they don't.
And are there some changes that are happening in the state right now with irrevocable trusts?
So the elder law bar has gone to battle with Mass Health over irrevocable trusts, and things are getting a little better. I still stand by what I say about them being scary. But in terms of once we go to Mass Health, if I'm filing an application and there's a irrevocable trust involved, if it's a good, well-written, and if it was done more than 5 years ago, it's getting easier to get those through the application process. Yes.
What if I go to live with my daughter or son for a couple of years? Can I keep my house? Instead of them coming into my house, me going into theirs.
So you want to keep your house, but you're going to move out of it and move in with your kids? Is that?
They're gonna take care of me at their house.
At their house, but you want to hold on to your house. You don't want to sell it.
No, I'm gonna rent it in the meantime.
Well, if you rent it, remember I said the Mass Health regulations have different exceptions and asterisks. If you have a rental property, that is allowable.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the rationale being that rental property is kicking off income that you're going to pay to the nursing home, which means Mass Health has to pay a little bit less to the nursing home. So they like it when you have a rental property kicking off income.
Are they collecting the rent?
Well, I mean, you're collecting the rent, you're the landlord, but because it's income and you're in a nursing home, your income goes to the nursing home. And then Mass Health pays the rest of the bill.
Well, if it's a relative, not a nursing home, that's taking care of me.
You can pay your children to take care of you. However, I will caution you, Mass Health assumes it is a child's obligation and life ambition to drop everything and take care of their parents. If you are going to pay your children to take care of you, and there's a lot of good reasons, you need a very good paper trail, you need a contract, you need payroll services. And that's the only way that all these checks to your kids are going to fly later on with Mass Health. But also, if your children are taking care of you and they've reduced their hours at work, et cetera, they should get paid.
So is there like an allowable amount, or like, so they would show like a hardship at work or something like that, like a decrease in their?
No. So like if you want to pay your daughter to take care of you, if she feels like, okay, I can make this work for myself if I reduce my hours, but then you pay me, I can financially continue to take care of myself. Then that's a financial decision she has made. But in terms of you paying your daughter, Mass Health doesn't think you should be paying your daughter. So the only way it will pass muster with Mass Health is if you treat her just like any other home care agency. There's a contract, there's payroll, there's hours, etc. And then it's fine.
If he had a rental though, if he had more than $2,000.
No. 2,000 is the asset. You can have a bank account with 2,000.
So wouldn't you have more?
No, because every month your Social Security comes in, your pension comes in, his rental money comes in, but then it goes right back out because he pays it to the nursing home.
But the house isn't considered an asset?
If it's a rental property, it's one of those exceptions. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
How does the life estate work?
Oh God, life estates. How much time do we have? When do we get kicked out?
Yeah. We're over.
All right. I'll answer life estates and then we're gonna wrap up. Okay, a life estate is this really weird, fuzzy concept that so it kind of doesn't make sense, okay? That's my preface. We brought it over from England on the Mayflower. It's one of these wacky English things, okay? So what it is, how do I want to do this? All right, I own a house. I write a deed to my kid, all right? So now she holds I write a deed to my kid, however, I retain a life estate. So it says it right in the deed, like I type those words in. I deed my house to my child, however, I reserve a life estate. Go file that at the Registry of Deeds. So if I have reserved a life estate. That means I have the ironclad right to live in that house. No one can kick me out. Even though she's now kind of the owner, she can't kick me out because I have a life estate. That's just what a life estate is. It means you can live there for the rest of your life. It means you need to act like a homeowner. I still have to make sure the roof is good, pay the bills, maintain the septic, etc. It means when I die, at the stroke of midnight, she becomes the full owner. No probate, no paperwork, no nothing, because she's already on that deed as a remainder. That's what it's called. I have a life estate, she has a remainder. For mass health purposes, if you're a single person and you go into the nursing home and you have a house, remember we said they want you to sell the house and pay your own bill and leave mass health alone, right? So you're like, fine, I own a life estate. You go onto Craigslist, you write a post, I am selling a life estate. Would anybody like it? No one in their right mind in the US is gonna buy a life estate. They're not. So you've met your obligation to try to sell your house. It didn't work. And that's it. And then when you die, you no longer own the house. Remember I said at the stroke of midnight, the remainder, your child, becomes the owner. So Mass Health can't get their fingers into it after you die. So we like life estates because you have the ironclad right to live there. They save the house from nursing home. It's an easy peasy inheritance process. We don't like life estates because if you, while you're living, want to do a reverse mortgage, if you want to sell the house, you need that child sign off. And if they don't want to sign off, there's nothing I can do.
So if you go in a nursing home before you die, they don't tax the house?
If you're what? I'm sorry?
If you go into a nursing home after the 5 years.
And you have a life estate on the house, then you're good. You have to try to sell it. You're going to go on Craigslist and try to sell your life estate and no one's going to buy it, but you've met your obligation because I tried to sell my life estate, and then you're done. Then Mass Health lets you in, and then because your child inherits it when you die, Mass Health can't get into it after you die. So, okay, we should wrap up. I will be here if people want to ask questions. I'm going to wrap up, sir. I just want to say, one, this is my public service announcement. If you have adult disabled children, if you have friends and neighbors and relatives with adult disabled children, they must, they have no choice. They have to go see an elder law attorney and do their estate planning properly. I'm not going to go into all my slides, but essentially, to be an adult, a disabled adult, and to get public services, you need to be disabled and broke. So what families will do is they will set aside inheritances for these children, but in a very certain type of trust, because you can't be broke and function in society. We know this. So, and it's even worse when you're disabled. So we will, to keep them on their public benefits, they have no money in their own bank account, but the family through inheritance has set aside the money for them that they will need. And you can only set it aside in the right way that doesn't threaten their benefits if you work with an elder law attorney. So that is my PSA. If you have a special needs adult child or know somebody, make sure they go see an elder law attorney so that their adult special needs child will be taken care of for life even after the parents are gone. All right, so thank you for coming. Okay, you're welcome.